All right, welcome everybody to the Greenfork Food for Thought podcast. Today's guest is Dr. Sarah Avery. She is a physical therapist. She's got In Motion integrative physical therapy. She's got Moon Cycle Seeds. She runs a women's osteoporosis program. She's a new mother.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff going on.
The biggest job of all.
The biggest job of all, yeah, for sure. You do a lot of things, so that's great. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while now.
Yeah.
I was trying to think like how we even met, but I can't remember back that far, I guess.
I feel like we just kept finding our way into each other's spheres through fitness. And then I remember I was with my husband one day and we were swimming down at Spire Falls. And I think that was when everything was kind of solidified. And we're like, Stephen's a good guy.
yeah, that was cool.
We should be friends.
Yeah, and I met your husband. I met you guys separately, actually. And then I was like, oh, you guys are together. That's cool.
Yeah.
But met him through jiu-jitsu.
Yep. He's a big jiu-jitsu fan,
he
to
is.
say the least.
Yeah, he's got a brown belt now.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah,
he's actually recovering right now from a little injury, and I was very proud of him for taking a little bit of time off to rest. And, but he's getting back to it. And
does he take your advice when you tell him?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a go-getter and doesn't really, like there's like injury and then there's injury, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's tough when you have a practice like that to it's like, okay, I rolled my ankle, and if you're a dancer, right, you're still going to keep going for it, and but then there's like, oh, I tore my meniscus, and that's not good, and I actually can't go for it.
Yeah, you just can't do the things. I think the jiu-jitsu culture, it's a lot of tough guys, so they just want to just keep pushing through injury and, oh, I can move, so it's fine, I'll be fine. And then, that's kind of how I got out of it, was I injured my knee, and I really haven't been back since.
Yeah, I remember that. That's,
You helped me with the recovery.
And you're doing well now, and you just did a half marathon, which is incredible. That's amazing.
That was really hard.
Yeah. I mean, I just did my first 5K with my daughter pushing a stroller, and I'm like, in parallel to you and Reba and everybody here at the gym training for that half, and I'm like, 5K, half marathon.
Hey, that's still cool.
It's amazing though what you can really push yourself toward, and if that's something that you're not used to doing, and just putting your nose down and committing to it, it can.
There's like a thing with running or competition in general, but running specifically for me, where I get into a really cool headspace, and it's like, I don't know, it's really powerful. It's what do you say, like rewarding, motivating, to like go through the ups and downs of the mental struggles while you're running.
Oh my gosh.
And still persevere through and finish.
Totally.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I never thought that I would like enjoy running, and I really just picked it up as a means to do something that is like that I can go out and do with my daughter in my neighborhood, and not really take time away from her. I know, as a women's health PT, I don't usually recommend like running postpartum if you weren't a runner previously. But here we are, not taking my own advice. And and I can relate to that too. There's a beauty in doing something that you haven't done before, and achieving that. And it's I don't know if I need to keep doing that, but it was cool to say that I have done that.
One and done?
Yeah, maybe. I think we'll do the turkey trot coming up. And
turkey trot's fun.
It's just as a fun thing. Totally, But it really is. I love weightlifting, and I really would like to get back to that a little bit more, and trying to work that into the ongoing schedule. It's
your crazy
been interesting.
Schedule. So how did you get into physical therapy and the yoga and all the things that you're doing? Because it sounds like you are an active person, so I assume that's how you got into it. But.
Well, I mean, I am a mover. I always have been a mover. I used to do like soccer, and I was really involved in dance from like a studio dance perspective. And then like we had a great dance team at my high school, which I always found to be more fun, right? And then I danced in undergrad. And then
what kind of dance?
I kind of gravitated more toward modern dance in undergrad, but it really
Very cool.
was like, that it really isn't my favorite. I always enjoyed more like hip hop and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just like anything that, any like sound and music that gets me moving is what
Yeah.
I enjoy the most.
Yeah.
So, modern could kind of be that way, but sometimes it can be a little like stale feeling for
Yeah.
me. But I do love the movements. They are
Yeah.
like a little more expansive than, say, like traditional ballet. So that, it was fun to have those experiences.
Yeah.
And then in graduate school, well, I was kind of exposed to, like in my anatomy classes, it's very like static. These are the muscles, these are the tendons and bones, and you can learn all of that. But then I really learned a lot about like dynamic anatomy and like movement anatomy when I was in my dance classes. Which was kind of cool. And I always had this thought that I wanted to do physical therapy because it really embodied this like love for science that I had, but also like a movement practice and specialty. But then also that like caregiving nature that I've always kind of brought into my relationships with my friends and my younger siblings. I have lots of siblings, all sisters, no brothers. And then, so it just kind of seemed like a natural path. And then I got into graduate school and there was no time for dance, like no time at all. So as a mover, it seemed a little counterintuitive to be like sitting down and studying and learning about movement prescription, but then like, oh, you're this huge hypocrite because you're not moving. So I started to do like free yoga YouTube videos at home at night as a way to kind of handle those emotional stressors that came along with like academic performance, but also not being able to kind of get my wiggles out to say. And then, through that journey, I kind of realized that, oh, this is more than the physical practice. It's like an emotional healing too, and so kind of in the background, I had this idea that I wanted to find ways to incorporate yoga into physical therapy practice. But physical therapy in Western, in the US is very evidence-based, which it should be, but that kind of eliminates like what you can practice with your patients because there isn't a lot of evidence-based yoga out there, right?
Even though it's thousands of years old.
I know, it's really, it baffles me that that's just not common practice, And like, I know you've had previous guests on who have explained their frustrations with the medical system and the insurance model. And I can, kind of relate to that. And hence the trajectory that I took going into my own business and, post graduate school, I did some ongoing education as a professional yoga therapist, which, it took a couple of years, but it was a way for me to be able to integrate evidence-based yoga and lifestyle medicine into my practice. But, as I went on to work in the like outpatient clinics, there wasn't a lot of room for that because there was just so much turnover and you were like, I was typically seeing multiple patients at once. And, I really get it from a business perspective. You have to like meet a certain quota every month to keep it going, to keep that machine well oiled. But it was really taking away from the experience that I wanted to provide to my patients. So
I hear that so much from every health professional that I've interviewed is like, there's the way that you should do it, right? Which is seeing 1 million patients a day, turn and burn. But then it takes the soul out of it, right? You got into this because you wanted to help people
and connect,
and you're not able to do that in that model. So, it's good. I am seeing a lot of people that are taking, sort of the path that you're taking, which is, not insurance based and it's just you're able to actually provide more value that way and spend more time with your clients, your patients, and it just feels like a much better thing for people that actually care.
Yeah, and for something like physical therapy, it's not just like anatomy based. There is a lot that, the body can hold on to when it comes to stress or previous traumas, like not only emotional traumas, but also the physical traumas. And, you know, you have to be able to listen to your patient too, to understand that full story and the complexities of who that human being is, and really create a program or a tool, you know, a toolbox of exercises, say, to support them, right? And it's not one size fits all. And I know that's kind of cliche to say, but it's pretty rare that, like, in my experiences, I've had practitioners provide me with the tools that I need for me personally,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, you can't just look at a textbook and say, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. It's like, for me, when I first started training, I would have people do like squats or whatever, right? And you're like, oh, this is what the form should look like because this is what the textbook told me. But that person probably is scared of squats or doesn't have the, like, emotionally could be, I'm not ready to do a barbell back squat right now. So emotionally they can't do it. Physically they can't get down low enough or whatever. So it took me some time to realize, like, you have to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
You know? But I love the integration of the yoga with the physical therapy because, like we said, it's thousands of years old. And a lot of the stuff that you see people doing might have a different name for it, but it's yoga.
Yeah.
You know, different postures, different stretches, whatever, putting yourself in these positions. It's just yoga.
Yeah.
But we can analyze it and break it down from a, you know, Western state of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should be very clear too. My style of, like, yoga integration is not, I don't tap into too much of that, like the spiritual aspects of that, because, like, who am I to guide somebody else's spiritual journey when I'm, like, trying to sort my own out, you know?
Sure.
But I can speak to the movement practices and the breathing, and, you know, how can we incorporate stillness and that kind of slower living into your everyday life. And, you know, as a fast-paced person too, I'm constantly practicing that and reminding myself of those things too. So, you know, I'm very careful not to be hypocritical, but, you know, also, and we'll leave those spiritual practices to the experts.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, and I would say too that in my PT practice, as you've experienced too, I would also consider myself more of a manual therapist as well, like that hands-on, because, you know, of course, I think most therapy sessions, physical therapy sessions, require some form of movement, of course, but a lot of times you need that kind of hands-on to bridge that gap between where you exist now and okay, that's how we get to this point. So there's that component too.
You released my psoas one time and it felt like a hot needle going in there, but, like, it felt so good afterwards. And without that release, like, you know, I guess you could do it slowly over time with stretching, but, like, it's just much nicer to have somebody else do it passively.
And it's a different sensation too, or a different approach, because you're targeting the tissues directly. With a stretch, you're just kind of creating this tension along the muscle from tendon to tendon, where with the like a trigger point release, right, you're pushing and holding, and you're kind of sending this message to the nervous system to relax and let go. And you know, that's not the only modality that works. Like, you do have to pair that with other modalities. And you know, as we were speaking about before, that's where the integrative part of my business name came into play, is that, you know, I really had this goal to, you know, in Saratoga Springs, we're so lucky to have so many practitioners and experts. And I do think there's room for us to pull each other in and give our patients a network of people. So I have some great practitioners that I like to refer to, and I love connecting with other professionals, because you never know when it's going to come up that patient needs this specific thing that this person is really good at. You know, like the example that I gave you is that, like, I don't do high velocity manipulation, like back cracking, you know, that type of thing. So I'll save that for the chiropractors, and, you know, hopefully we can create a system where, okay, you've given that patient the mobility that they need. Let's secure it now by implementing some exercise-based, you know, prescription, right?
Yeah, you have a whole network of people. You've got gyms, trainers, massage therapists, physical therapists, chiropractors, mental therapists, like everybody. It takes a village.
It really does. It really does. And, I love seeing my patients too come back to me and they say, wow, I worked with Stephen and he was really great at teaching me this, this thing that I needed to get back to jiu-jitsu. And, I'll leave that to you because you're the expert there, but
sure.
And no, it's great. We're so lucky to live in a community where we have accessibility to lots of resources, really. Yeah. Cause where we were living up in upstate New York near Canada, there's I love it. I love like the simplicity and the slower living, but I just didn't see the ability to be there and achieve what I was trying to achieve.
To grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Saratoga's a nice little community.
Yeah.
It's not too big.
Right.
But, there's lots of access to different things, like
Totally.
you were saying.
Yeah.
You specialize in women's health.
Mm-hmm.
You have a women's osteoporosis class. Tell us a little bit about that, but also like why is it so important for women specifically to lift weights? I know it's a big thing these days. People are talking about it, but why is it so important?
I do feel like I could talk for 2 hours about this, so I'll kind
go.
of like cliff notes. I know that fly is really
He loves me.
Really excited about you. So Osteo Vitality is the name of the program, and this was I kind of started this back in 2018. I was motivated by a mentor of mine, and he really kind of got real with me and asked me like, what do you want to do? Where do you feel connected to people? And it was the first and only time somebody ever asked me like, where are you going? And I'm like, whoa, none of my professors ever asked me this. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. And I really had to think like, where do I thrive? Where do I really connect with people? And I found that it was with women in like the postmenopausal age group, and like the conversations were just so fun, and like I don't know, I feel like we just really connected, and I was able to help those individuals. And then a patient of mine came to me and was like, hey, I just was diagnosed with osteoporosis. I'm very frustrated because I've always been a walker, a runner, a cyclist, a hiker, and what can you do for me? So then this program essentially was born, where I looked at the research and what from an exercise perspective really actually makes significant changes in bone growth. And the programs that I was finding out there that I was trying to get certified in just didn't really cut it for me, because it was a lot of like the programming kind of catered to individuals who were well into life, maybe, from the 70 to 80 range, where you have to consider balance as a limitation. So a lot of the programs were done sitting, and then with like 5-pound dumbbells, right, where you're lifting up overhead. So those are great things to do at that phase of life, but to make the changes that these people were asking to make, it's just not going to cut it. So, and just to kind of give a little overview about like the physiology of bone health, you have 2 cells in short that play the largest role in that cycle of bone growth and decay. The osteoblasts are the cells that kind of lay down new bone, and those respond to a stimulus. So that's your external load, that's the weight. And then
muscles kind of pulling on the bones.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways to load that bone, and that is what you're referencing is that kind of tensile loading, where the tendons that attach muscle to bone are kind of tugging on the bone a little bit. And so you see bone growth that way. And then you also see bone growth from a compression standpoint. So compression can kind of sound a little scary when it comes to osteoporosis, but if you're compressing the bones with good posture, and kind of like distributing that weight evenly around the vertebrae of the spine, then you'll see that those bone cells kind of lay down a little bit more than what the second cells are, the osteoclasts, which help to absorb bone. Okay. So in osteoporosis, osteoclast activity is a little, it's kind of outpacing the osteoblasts. Okay. So then if you load consistently, consistency is the key there, then you're getting those osteoblasts to lay down a little bit more than the osteoclasts are absorbing the bone. So you're just kind of trying to like flip the script there. Yeah. So there's certain lifts like deadlift, squats, overhead presses. Those are all functional movements. And so in the programming, we incorporate those on a weekly basis, on like a weekly rotation. And some of the participants have been with us for like 5 years, and oh my gosh, it's so fun. And the motivation and the commitment has been excellent. And initially it was only meant to be a 12-week program where you kind of get the confidence to go into a gym setting and do it yourself. But then like people didn't want to leave. They've developed friendships and community, and I didn't even think about that. And then of course they have this supervision from PTs and other personal trainers that are on the team. And I think that gives a sense of security too, to know that they're being watched and guarded if needed, because falls too are a big thing. You want to avoid falls, and that's a big thing to monitor too during a weightlifting session. And then, incorporating a little bit of yoga too is important, because that's where you do see more of that tensile loading, as you were referring to, with that muscle attaching to the bone. But then you're also getting the benefits of good posture with yoga. And, over time we can kind of slouch forward. Yeah, I know. And that's what I know. Everybody always corrects when I talk about this, including me. But that's how we avoid compression fractures later on in life. And, those are quite debilitating and unfortunate. So if we can start working on it now. And then the third, I guess, pillar, we have loading, we have posture, and then the third pillar would be that balance and really making sure that we're avoiding falls for life, So that's kind of like the program principle, and I'm excited to say that we are getting, it's been a slow burn because the insurance model typically only allows repeated DEXA scans every 2 years. So it's kind of like, these women have been putting a lot of faith in the process and anxiously awaiting their bone density readings, but we're finally getting them back, and I'm doing a little data analysis right now, and 86% of the repeat DEXAs have shown either improvements or maintenance of their bone density, which is incredible. And I think only like 2 of the women in that group are taking medications. So this is solely the exercise doing the work. And the people that showed decline, those individuals do have like an endocrine disrupting situation going on. So it's kind of like a little outlier, or they weren't able to consistently be here because they travel, to Florida for the winter or whatever. So yeah, it's been really, really cool and exciting.
So you kind of have like a case study.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a great, wonderful friend that Katie Rhodes, and she is actually willing to help me kind of sort out some of the data and work with me to get some visuals, because I'm a visual type person. So I'm hoping to kind of like put that together and just kind of see where we're at, and the data doesn't lie, so we'll see what that turns out to be like. But overall, it's looking pretty good.
You submit that to like an insurance company and get like legitimized or whatever to be able to take insurance? I know that's not the right word.
Yeah, no, I mean that I get that question all the time, and as it stands right now, and we were talking about this before hopping onto this episode, but a lot of insurance companies don't look at this type of work as being like medically necessary, unfortunately. And I might be misinterpreting it too, and somebody who is like more well-informed about the insurance model might have like another way to look at it. So if you do, please let me know. But generally speaking, it's considered more of a preventative type of approach, which is unfortunate, but
we should start looking at more preventative care as a priority over
totally
treatment.
Totally. And nipping things in the bud like this earlier on, and like even to the point of osteoporosis, excuse me, we wait until like 40 years old before we even get DEXA scans. And even then, the patient is typically prompting a practitioner to do the DEXA scan, or there has to be like some kind of problem that warrants that. Like I know some people who are in their like 50s and 60s who haven't gotten DEXA scans yet, and it's like, well, have you asked? No, but did you know that you needed to ask? No. So there's kind of that like advocacy balance with the responsibilities of the practitioners.
It's the same thing with anything, like a hormone panel, blood tests, anything. You have to ask, you have to jump through hoops to get any kind of answers. But,
yeah.
You know, it's just unfortunate.
I mean, but there are some really wonderful practitioners out there too who are like really on top of it, and as well as patients too, being like, no, I think I want to know this information, and it would be great to know, because on DEXA scans, the two scores that come back are T scores and Z scores. Z scores compare the individual to the bone density of other women who are, or gender and age, who are of the same gender and age, where T scores compare that person to like a healthy, normal 30-year-old, which is just the way of saying that that's when your bone density peaks, is at 30 years old. So if we can kind of have that framework, we can really show the changes as you approach menopause and then afterward, right? Because that sharper decline happens after like 5 to 7 years after menopause. So it would just be useful to have that information. But
absolutely.
You know, from a business insurance standpoint, I understand that it's probably a huge undertaking to like perform all these DEXAs and pay them out for all of these people. You know, if in a perfect world, I would have like a radiology degree too and be able to do DEXA scans for people. That would be so cool. But
well, I thought it was funny that, like, you know, if you have an injury, like when I hurt my knee, X-rays right away.
Yeah.
But MRIs,
they do take a while.
Through this whole rigmarole to get there.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you have the ability to look at something, to provide knowledge on something, the injury, why wouldn't you just do it?
I know.
You know?
I know. And it's so hard to say, like, who knows what systems are in place there, like why that exists that way, but it does seem so silly, because now, like, rather than just going to get an MRI, now the person has to go through like all these like PT sessions that the insurance company has to pay out anyway. So, but either it is, but you know, regardless of what the image says, PT, like, your options will ultimately end up being, okay, PT, injections, or surgical intervention. Most people are going to go PT anyway, unless, you know, you're really in a bad way and just kind of want it taken care of, you know. So I kind of get it, and, you know, I do appreciate that perspective, but also it's like, okay, if you have a hip labrum tear, and you know, that would just be good to know anyway. But
don't just guess.
Yeah, but I mean, PTs are good about diagnosing. Like, that's why it's a doctoral program now, because they can diagnose those musculoskeletal conditions. So, you know,
it's got to be sort of, you have to have this like intuitive aspect to it too, right? Where you can touch and feel and watch how the human body moves, and then be able to diagnose. It's got to be like the art of physical therapy.
Yeah, and art is a really great way to explain that. I've never thought of it like that, because we learn on, like, sorry if anybody has queasy stomach, but we learn on like cadavers, right? Which was an incredible tool. It took a lot of like psychological preparation to get there, and, you know, gratitude for the person who donated their body to science. But you know, you kind of get into it, and you're so, like, I was so appreciative of those experiences, but it's not living. It's not a living being. So it's kind of hard to like see the architecture of the body, especially like the fascial system, and, you know, how are the nerves moving through the channels. So it's a lot more than just like the muscles and tendons too, right? It's all the other systems that we have, you know, like previous surgeries could have an impact on that tissue pliability and how they like move and glide over top of each other. And that's just kind of one example of, you know, the whole picture. Totally. Yeah. And it is interesting too, because, you know, I also like have a passion for working with dancers, right? And work with the dancers at Skidmore, which has been super fun. But like a dancer's limitation might be um, like, well, you're a bad example because you do yoga and jiu-jitsu, but somebody who doesn't, who maybe say is a runner, and they might not have the flexibility that a dancer would
Or a
have.
power lifter or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, their range of motion isn't that of the dancers. So a limitation in a dancer's range of motion might still be more than
Yeah.
the maximum of a runner or a power lifter.
Right.
So that's really interesting, and I do have to kind of pay attention to, okay, what is your baseline? So it's the individual, what their lifestyle is like, what their environment is like, what they have access to do their homework, and just kind of reading all of that too on top of like what is going on here.
Yeah.
What's your body's story, right? Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It's
art.
really cool. Yeah.
I know. I kind of wish that I had done something like that, because I just, the human body movement, all that stuff, kinetics, exercise, yoga, different. I never got into dance necessarily,
Yeah.
but I do it anyway.
Yeah, you're like the animal flow. That's actually the first time I met you was taking one of your animal flow classes when I moved here.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember really resonating with it because because I always felt that yoga, there was like something not bridging the gap between dance and yoga. And the yoga practice is generally pretty like static not static.
Linear.
Yes, thank you. That's a better way to describe it.
On the mat.
But the animal flow kind of like brought that feeling back to me. And I would say you're doing that.
Yeah.
All that. And like I've trained with you before here at Battleground, and like, yeah, you put me through the ringer. Like you're doing those things too. I think any movement specialist has that, like you're bringing your creativity to the table and also like creating an art as well. Yeah.
I've always been more fascinated with, the creative aspect of movement rather than like how much can you lift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like numbers don't really thrill me, but like seeing somebody do a cool movement like a somersault or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I love jiu-jitsu, because it's two bodies moving.
Oh,
together.
It took me a long time to appreciate that, and having my husband kind of break that down for me. And now I understand. I would never it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I can really appreciate the strategy that goes into that movement or that practice, and it is kind of a dance where initially when I was like, oh, it's just two people like trying to flip each other over, but it's so much more complex than that. It's really cool.
It is. And if you have two people that are really agile and mobile or whatever, and really good, it's a beautiful dance that they bring together, and it's cool. Back to women's health, not just weightlifting, you also work with hormonal health. You have Moon Cycle Seeds. Right?
Yeah, Moon Cycle Seed Company, yep.
So what's that all about? Because I have no idea.
Okay.
Women's health is not my thing.
I mean, this is like more from a nutrition standpoint, and I am not a nutritionist, but however, the American Physical Therapy Association did just release a certification for physical therapists to be able to discuss nutrition and exercise. So I just signed up for that. I'm very excited because that has been like a piece missing where it's like out of my scope of practice, but there's no way I can't talk about it, right? Yeah. So Moon Cycle is very separate from my physical therapy practice, and I don't talk about it really in my PT practice. But this came up because of my interest in kind of creating clean living for myself. I was very alarmed, and this might be a little TMI, but I was very alarmed to hear that tampons have chemicals in them. And I learned this back when I was in undergraduate school, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, how many of those are you using in a lifetime? Holy crap. So then
BPAs and stuff?
just what's in the cotton, pesticides in the cotton. So if you can choose organic there, that was a good place for me to start. And then it blew up into, oh my gosh, my laundry soap, and so there's cosmetics and what you're putting on your body, and then so I got really into that when I had a lot more time to really kind of weed out. And it was a slow, long process to get to where I am now. And now I would even say like I've gone the other way where I've kind of had to lighten up a little bit because you can really get caught up in that. And the stress of that is also not good for you. But so in that journey, I also wanted to come off of hormonal birth control, which is kind of like the go-to when women have difficult menstrual cycles. And I was prescribed it when I was 14 years old and didn't question it. And later on, I kind of learned like your body is now not producing its own estrogen. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, what?
So is it because the women's hormonal cycles are so like all over the place that they'll say, okay, go on birth control because at least we know the trajectory or the rhythm or whatever it is, like we can control this.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're off it, it's a lot more.
It could be a little more sporadic, depending on like, and that's, I feel like I was kind of bouncing around there, but the things in your environment can kind of create a shift in your menstrual cycle, like hormonally. So it does provide a little more consistency, and it mitigates some of the symptoms that a young woman might experience, or any woman really, like who has trouble with their menstrual cycles. So I wanted to come off of that kind of in preparation too for having children, and just kind of wanted to see what my body was doing, At the time of coming off of that, I remembered why I went on it in the first place with the, some of the like discomforts and struggles that I had experienced back at 11, 12, and then I'm like, okay, let's get a handle on this. Like, what foods can I eat? How can I tune into my environment? And like, I love the buzzword of cyclical living, where you can also like you might be more apt to do a podcast during your ovulation when you're feeling more chatty and sociable, where like 14 days later you might want to just like chill and watch a movie or something. And you can't do that all the time, especially in entrepreneurship and motherhood. Like you just do, but you can kind of like tweak important meetings, say, or change what you can. But the food aspect became really important to me because it would be nothing for me to just like grab a bag of chips and that was my lunch, and like go to a dance class. It was awful. I was not like nourishing my body in any way. But here we are, and now I appreciate, balanced meals, and that's why I love Greenfork meals. They've saved me on so many occasions because you have like, and that's how I look at my plate now is like, okay, do I have the protein, the fat, the carb, and keep it simple? I'm not an expert there, but at least, there's a working knowledge of how you can, give your body what it needs. And then I came across seed cycling, which is a protocol that incorporates 4 seeds, which is pumpkin and flax. And sesame and sunflower, 2 separate phases, we'll say. They have to be ground. And the first phase is taken like the first 14 days of your cycle. And then the second phase is taken during the last 14 days. And the idea is that, in those first 14 days where estrogen is on the rise, it kind of helps to kind of tone that down a little bit so you're not going into like estrogen excess, which then can kind of throw off progesterone the next phase of your cycle.
So it's all about balance, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's of course never going to be like in this homeostasis because you have to have that ebb and flow, and that's like wonderfully tied to the feminine energy anyway. So you kind of have to keep that, but it helps to like create this like huge disruption in that that can lead to like excessive PMS symptoms, hormonal acne, like terrible cramping, or just general changes in your cycle. So I started doing this protocol. It worked for me in like 2 months. I don't know if it was placebo, but like the first thing that I noted was my shift in my mood, like for the better that week leading up to the menstrual cycle. And I'm like, okay, this is like exactly what I needed. Yeah. And then I was trying to share this with some of my siblings, and they wanted to do it, but the barrier to entry was like the buying of the seeds and then grinding the seeds. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let me just grind these for you and I'll put them in mason jars. And I measured them out, and then they took them and they had success. And I'm like, well, okay, if that process worked for you, why couldn't I just put like package these up in like food safe containers? And so I started selling those at the market alongside of my husband's kombucha company and CBD oil company. I know, we do too, but he's on to, in entrepreneurship, you have things that like,
Pivot.
Like he's just opened himself up to more opportunities in other directions. So we did stop doing the markets, but Moon Cycle since then has really grown in its online presence. So yeah, it's been a great little venture, and I'm so the stories that I get back from people about how seed cycling has helped them has been amazing, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's great. I think you've got a really nice thing going with the women's health and all aspects of it.
It's a delicate balance right now.
For sure.
We really had to fine tune some things after the little one came along, but I think it's kind of at like in a nice place right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear it. You're such a good person, and you just have a good energy, and you want to help people, and good forces in this world should be able to succeed.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah. I've got a question that I ask everybody, and I forgot to forewarn you about this one. But it's the last meal question. So if you were on death row for any reason, I don't know why you would ever be on death row, but let's say you were, and you got to choose one last meal. Anything you wanted, anything at all, as much of anything that you wanted.
I love food.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I'm like pizza just makes me so happy, and I know that's so cliche, but like a good chewy crust, cheesy, little sauce pizza, that would be it.
Like Sicilian style, like the square one, or?
No, I want a nice round one with like the bubbles in the crust, and you can kind of peel them off, and that's the kind of pizza that we're talking. Right.
Nice.
Thank you. Hands down, easy question to answer.
Yeah, that's great. I've had somebody say just a baked potato with like olive oil and salt. And I was like, hey,
some people who like baked potatoes really like their baked potatoes.
So it's whatever is comforting to you.
Yeah.
I think food tells a lot about somebody.
Yeah.
It can, and just I don't know. I enjoy hearing about what people's comfort foods are.
And I think I just like it because it does bring back good memories of like a relaxed Friday night when Blockbuster was a thing. It's just it has some nostalgia there, and like it's not something that we eat often these days. So like when we do, it's kind of a treat, and there's a little excitement behind it.
Get pizza from?
I do like 9 Miles East, but then we discovered Caputo's, and they do a chicken marsala pizza that is unique, and it's really good.
I like Caputo's. That's actually because I like a thin, crispy crust.
Yeah, I know I said the thick crust, but they actually do a thinner crust, but it's delicious.
Yeah, so that place, Caputo's, Mamma Mia's.
Oh yeah, Mamma Mia's.
Has a really nice pizza. Really the eggplant pizza there is really good.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
And then 9 Miles is definitely different, but it's good too. The sourdough crust is good there.
Definitely. Yeah. What is yours? Has anybody asked you back?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I say it all the time. It's a breakfast. So I want a steak, like a ribeye steak, and eggs, hash browns, blueberry pancakes, and just a really tall, cold, bottomless beer. Ah,
that's a good meal right there. Nice. Okay.
Breakfast food to me, for some reason, just hits comfort notes.
That's great. That's great. That's a good choice. Yeah. Cool.
So I guess we could wrap up, but if people want to reach out or use your osteo program, your physical therapy program, the Moon Cycle, anything else you have going on, where can they get a hold of you?
I think the best way would just be to head to my website. If you type in on Google "In Motion Physical Therapy Saratoga," I'm sure I'll pop up. Yep. My phone number or email are there. I warn people that I have a longer turnaround time than most businesses because I'm a one-woman show, and I do put the phone away around our little, and try to be present. So sometimes it's like 9 o'clock at night before I'm getting back to you, but I'll answer. And then Moon Cycle is mooncycleseedco.com. And, you know, there's some nice blog posts on there. I kind of like gave the quick and dirty of what seed cycling is. So
Yeah.
I know people generally have more questions. So there's like frequently asked questions there. And then I'm on standby if there's anything more specific.
You do a blog?
Mhm.
You do?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I haven't
You haven't done it in a
tended to
while?
it in quite a while, but
Yeah.
the content that is there are it stems from the most questions that I used to get at the
Right.
farmers market.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the main questions that people have. Yeah,
I tried to start a blog with
Oh, it's so
Greenfork,
tough.
and I was like,
it's so tough, and
this is kind of like a blog.
yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's different for that type of work too. I'm sure because like with Moon Cycle, there are more specific questions to the
Yeah.
person, but no, that could be the case too for you. Like if
Yeah,
people have dietary restrictions
It's
and
a creative writing practice.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to do it, but I don't know. It's tough.
yeah, it really is, and it's a commitment. Like once you start, I'm lucky if I get one up there every quarter and kind of tune in. But it's been helpful anyway when people have questions. I can say like, well, here's the brief, but also here's this link to a more detailed look into what you're asking. So yeah, it works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
on.
for having me. This was
Keep
fun.
up the good work.
Thank you.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
We love you.
You too.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Dr. Sarah Avery, everyone. Thank you. Stay healthy, my friends.